we're going to take a look at a simple example of converting a quote to a sales order and then invoicing that sales order out. So first thing we need to do is locate our original quote. So we'll go to SO, modify order. It was 207. There it is. So we looked at the quote in the previous video. Now we're going to convert this quote to a sales order by going to Options 2, Convert Quote, and Sales Order. One thing to keep in mind is now that we've converted this from a quote to a sales order, the item or items that are on this sales order will now be accounted for in our inventory. So we should expect to see that this item has at least 10 allocated on the item screen. And yes, it has 13. So somewhere there is a sales order that has at least 3 more allocated for. So if you double click on this, you can actually see those things. So we have, here's the sales order we're looking at. There's a service ticket and a couple other sales orders out there that have this item on it. So again, once we have converted it from a quote to a sales order, now it gets properly allocated for as far as the inventory goes. So even though we have 48 on hand, we only have 35 available because we have an allocation of 13. Now in this video, we're not going to get into PO creation right off of a sales order or special orders. We're going to cover those two subjects in a separate video. Here we are simply going to take a payment and then ship this order. So right now this sales order has a balance of $736.40. We can take a payment on that. We could take a partial payment, like a deposit, if the customer wanted to pay for part of it now and come back and do that later, or we can just do a payment in full. So the first step is to take the payment. We're going to go ahead and do it in full. And so here's the payment amount. We could change this if we wanted to, but we're just going to say okay. And we're going to say they paid in cash. Now we have taken a payment here, so our balance is 0, but we have not yet invoiced this sales order. And because an invoice is not created for a sales order until you ship it. Even if you take a payment on the sales order, even if it's paid in full, as in this example, the invoice doesn't get created until you ship it because that product is still an asset to the store until it's taken out of your inventory. So in order to actually create the invoice, we are going to ship this sales order. And here, if you had a large list and you can only do a partial order, you could just select individual lines. Again, we will cover that in a later video, but for this, we're just going to do select all. And we're going to say invoice. Invoice the selected items, yes. No payment is required because we've already done that when we receive the payment. So the invoice is created and this sales order is now closed. And it says it up here at the top, closed, because it's been picked up. If we go to the detail screen, we'll see there are no items because once the items are shipped, they're hidden by default. So if we had a partial sales order here and we had shipped things partially, we would see the items that hadn't shipped. Or if you wanted to see all items, you could say show all items or hide shipped. So this sales order is done, and we will cover a couple of special cases of special order items, PO creation, partial orders, and things like that in subsequent videos.